Everybody, welcome back to the channel. HDM here, and in this video we are updating one of my favorite builds of all time. This is the Beastmaster Stamina Warden build, and this thing is insane. The main feature of this setup is how many summoned animals we have access to now when you consider skills and armor. We've got 2 bears, bugs, shulks, and a brand new set that summons a griffin. Of course, we built in a ton of survivability, self-healing, and damage, making this build perfect for playing solo, with a companion, or even with a group. This is just a really strong all-around build, and I think you're going to enjoy it, so let's jump right into the video. Alright everybody, we are back on the Stamina Warden for an updated build here for Update 33, the Ascending Tides DLC. This is our ultimate Beastmaster build. One of my favorite builds from the past, kind of reviving it this patch. And it is so good. We're adding another animal effect to this build, and the damage is pretty huge. So let's go ahead and jump right into things, checking out the buff stats first. Let me just use my niche here. I think that's it. So checking out the stats, about 12k max magicka, 22k max health, 32k max stamina, about 1800 stamina recovery. That's pretty nice considering we're using all weapon damage. About 5k weapon damage there. That of course will go higher once our back bar is fully buffed. 53% weapon crit is looking pretty good. And the armor coming in at about 13,000 spell and physical resist. Now this is going to be a stamina focused warden build. Yes, we are using a couple of magicka skills, but I wouldn't call this a full-fledged hybrid build. More of a stamina warden, I would say. So 64 points into your stamina pool there. Make sure you max that out. Now, in terms of consumables, the lava foot soup is going to be your go-to. That's why I can get such a high stamina recovery on this build. It feels really good. Lots of sustain, including our warden passives. But I find I don't really need the health with this particular setup that I have. We'll talk about that in a second when we look at the race options there. Thief Mundus is going to be very solid for our crit chance, making sure that's boosted across the board. And then we have a couple buffs here. Minor Berserk, we'll talk about where that comes from in just a minute. Consumable potion, you'll want any basic stamina potion. I have weapon power potions on right now. Totally not necessary. You could use the basic trash potions, and you'll be good to go. Warden's pretty cool in that way. It has both your crit buff and your weapon damage buff, so you're good to go on buffs. Basic potions is all you need. And then lastly, let's check out the race. Now, I want to go with something different this patch, so I am on the Imperial right now. Imperial is pretty good for a solo focus build, if that's what you're interested in doing. You get the tough passive that gives you 2,000 max health. Imperial Metal gives you 2,000 max stamina. And then Red Diamond reduces the cost of all of your abilities. This includes your ultimate and your other combat-oriented skills. So this is a really good race for solo builds now, in my opinion. Yes, you could probably push out a little bit more damage with something like Dark Elf or Orc. But I find Imperial is a nice balance of stats and cost reduction. If you want to be a little bit more tanky, since we are using an armor buff right now, could go with Nord. Nord gets the extra armor, the extra resistance on your racial passives is very good. So basically, whatever you prefer there, you can make it work. But I think that's the basics, so let's go ahead and jump into the new updated sets. Show you where this starts to get interesting. So, our first 5-piece set on this build is going to be Deadly Strike, and I basically switched this build over to like a dot-focused setup. This is incredibly strong on the Stamina Warden. So what Deadly Strike does, if you're not familiar with it, you get the weapon damage, crit chance, more weapon damage, and then this also increases the damage of your dot and channeled abilities by 15%. So this is going to buff our main spammable skill. It's also going to buff all of our back bar dots, a couple of front bar dots. Yeah, this thing is just going to push out a ton of damage on this setup. Now, where can you get this? This actually drops in Cyrodiil. You can purchase it at one of the town merchants. Or if you're not into that, you can also purchase this for gold from guild traders. So however you get this set. It's still one of the best sets in the game. Definitely recommend you pick that up when you can. We're going to be front barring this, so I've got 2 deadly daggers. Main hand is going to be Nerdhoned. Offhand is going to be Precise. And then we're using the double damage poison here just for another dot, since that will get buffed by Deadly Strike as well. That's going to count for 2 pieces, and then we need 3 pieces on our jewelry. That's going to be the deadly necklace and 2 rings. I went ahead and put weapon damage on all of those. Bloodthirsty is going to be really good. You don't have to transmute it to Bloodthirsty right away. That's just something you can do later if you have the transmute stones. All right, so deadly, very powerful set. New set that we're adding this patch to go along with our Beastmaster theme. This is called the GRYPHONS Reprisal set, and this is from one of the new DLC dungeons coming in Update 33. What this does is it gives you crit chance, offensive penetration, and crit chance again, so very good 2 through 4 piece bonuses. And for the 5 piece, this is where we can summon a Griffin. This is actually a synergy that you can use yourself or your group can use it. And you can see the tooltip on this unbuffed, currently 30k bleed damage over 10 seconds. That is AoE as well. And you can actually increase this with other buffs also. So if I were to buff, my weapon damage, let's see what it is now. 36k bleed damage. So that can get probably close to 40k or more when we are fully buffed. 20-second cooldown on that. It is pretty cool. I'll show you the effect in combat. I wish it had sort of a better visual effect. You can't really see the griffin so much. You just see like a bunch of feathers flying through the air. But the sound it makes is definitely cool, and the damage is awesome. So this is a medium armor set. This comes from the Coral Airy dungeon. So 5 pieces of medium on the body. Probably the easiest way to run this. We got the feet, the legs, the hands, the waist, and the chest piece. All divines if you can get it, and then stamina enchant is going to be your glyph there. And then a couple of options for the monster set. I did go with a monster set here. You could do a mythic item or something like that. But monster sets are incredibly powerful again now that they can do critical strikes. And hey, we can get a bear from a monster set, so might as well use this on our Beastmaster themed build. So we basically have 2 bears if we're using Selene. This also gives max stamina, which is great for this build. And about 10k physical damage unbuffed every 6 seconds. This can hit for 20k plus when it crits, obviously. So really good monster set option for this, especially for bosses where you want to increase your damage a little bit. If you're doing more like AoE focused grinding or trying to get through a dungeon clear, you could do something with more AoE damage. Celestrix is very cool. This gives you the same 1-piece stamina bonus, but this does an AoE earthquake. So it kind of goes with like the nature focused theme of the build. I would definitely recommend you check that one out as well. So as far as the weights and traits here, I think we looked at most of them. Basically, I'm doing medium armor for all the body pieces, divines for all the traits. And then last but not least, you will want a bow of some sort for the back bar. I tried doing this with a two-hander. Two-hander is okay. You can use Stampede or something if you're interested. But bow is going to do a nice job as well. All you really need is an infused bow with a weapon damage enchant. That's going to make sure you maximize your damage when you're using that Endless Hail on the back bar. Maelstrom bow, if you can get it, doesn't have to be perfected. It really doesn't make a huge difference. But with a Maelstrom bow, you will increase your DPS slightly. So that is the setup here. We got Deadly on the front bar, weapons and jewelry. We have the new GRYPHONS Reprisal set on the body with Selene Monster set and the back bar Maelstrom bow. Real quick, too, when we go over the skills, I will talk about a two-handed version of this build. So if you're more comfortable with two-handed and the brawler ability for like a pure solo build, you can get a 2H for your front bar with a deadly two-handed weapon. You'll be good to go there as well. But that is the set, so let's talk about skills next and see how this works. Starting with our front bar, this is our dual wield. We're going to start with Bird of Prey. This comes from Animal Companions. That's our last skill here. This just gives us Minor Berserk. 5% bonus damage done at all times while we're on the front bar. Really good option. You can cast this for extra movement speed, plus you get bonus damage from your animal companion passives. We'll talk about in a little bit. Then we got Subterranean Assault. This is a good damage skill. That's the second skill from this one. This is good burst damage. It does AoE damage as well, and it recasts basically 2 times. So it's very nice to simplify your rotation. I did think about running the Magicka morph, and you could totally do that now, especially in Update 33. It'll do the same damage and give you Major Breach, but it'll just make your rotation a little bit more complicated since that doesn't have the recasted effect on the Magicka morph. The recast on this is very nice just for the convenience, I think. Third ability, another animal companion skill, we've got Growing Swarm. This is a very nice dot. Since we are using Deadly Strike, we want as many dots as possible. We also have Minor Vulnerability, so enemy's going to take 5% more damage, and a nice AoE bleed. So you get a lot from this, very good. Then we've got Bloodthirst. Okay, this is our main spammable DPS skill on the dual-wield version of this build. And since this is a channeled attack, it is buffed as well by Deadly Strikes. So we end up getting a ton of DPS from this. Not only that, it does heal us back for 33% of the damage caused. Final hit deals 300% more damage. Yeah, this is a good one. I definitely recommend this morph over the more damaging one because you do want a nice passive heal. Similar to like Templar, puncturing sweep. As long as you're doing damage with this skill, you'll be getting some nice heals back over time. Final regular ability here is Barb Trap, and this is yet another damage over time effect that's going to be buffed by Deadly Strike. This comes from the Fighters Guild. Last skill here. Does a lot of damage, long duration, gives us minor force as well. So that's going to increase all our crit damage by 10%. So definitely a must-have if you want to do as much damage as possible. Now you could flex this out. You could reduce your damage a little bit and put some healing here, especially if you're purely playing solo. I would recommend that you use the warded heal called Living Trellis. And this is going to be extremely powerful for both stamina and magicka wardens, even hybrid wardens in update 33, because it's going to scale with your highest offensive stats. You can see you get about 2,500 health every second when you're taking damage. And you can recast this for a big juicy burst heal. Let me go ahead and buff up real quick so you can see it. But this heal is powerful. So almost 7k burst heal, and you'll get a good crit chance on this as well. See, what do I got? So when it crits, almost 12k, 12,000 heal. That's really good. So definitely a good option for soloing. If you're not taking a ton of damage, if you're using easier content or group content, then yeah, go full on damage. Make sure you use Barb Trap in that position. Ultimate's pretty easy. It's just Eternal Guardian. This is the Magicka morph. I like this one because it can resummon itself. It also does bonus execute damage. So pretty cool ultimate here. Definitely fits the theme of the build. So I recommend that. Oh, before we go to the back bar. So if you are doing the two-handed version of this build, very simple to do. Just switch out Bloodthirst for the two-handed ability Carve or Brawler. Up to you which one you want to use for a two-handed build. Carve is going to give you a lot more damage since this does apply a bleed. And you can see buffed with Deadly Strike. Carve is pretty insane on this build. 20k bleed damage over 12 seconds. Plus you get a small damage shield there, 7,500. So that's what I would use. You can also use the Brawler, the other morph, for even more protection if you want. Okay, talk about back bar, and this is where we have a lot more dots. Starting with Winter's Revenge. So this is just a nice magicka-based dot for our back bar. It does AoE frost damage, snares enemies, chance to apply this chilled status effect. It's really good. Winter's Embrace is where you find this one. That's your second skill there. Next up, we have Arrow Barrage. So that's going to be from the bow skill line. This is mainly just to proc our enchant on the back bar. But this does get buffed by Deadly Strike as well. So it does very good dot damage also. And then a third dot. We got 3 AoE dots. And again, all of these are getting buffed by Deadly Strike. Third dot is going to be Razor Caltrops. Comes from the Alliance Wars skill line. Third skill here, physical damage, snare, and major breach. So you will want some form of major breach, especially if you're playing solo. This is a very easy way to get it. Pretty cheap to cast. It is AoE as well, so definitely recommended there. And then our 2 buffs. We are using Lotus Blossom. Comes from Green Balance. And the nice thing about Lotus Blossom now in Update 33 is it's going to give you Major Prophecy and Savagery. So that's going to increase both your spell and weapon critical. So it doesn't matter if you're playing a Magicka Warden or a Stamina Warden, you're still going to get every single buff that you need. And I chose Lotus Blossom here because look at the duration. They actually buffed this insanely. 60-second duration on Lotus Blossom. That's one of the longest buffs in the game now. So this thing is awesome. You'll get through multiple rotations on this guy without having to rebuff, which is really nice. And obviously we're using this for the heal, so each light attack gives us about 13k health, each heavy attack about 4k health. That can heal group members as well, so really good buff on the Warden. I like how they improve this skill. And then finally Bull Netch. This is going to give us a lot of stamina sustain, plus our major brutality buff. You also remove negative effects. By the way, casting this buffs some of our Warden passives, so you get bonus health if you cast that a couple times, and free heals from using Netch, which is really good. So that is the basic setup. We can go ahead and do a quick rotation on the boss just to see how it works. All right, so I brought my companion with me just to make this a little bit easier to showcase the rotation. 2 buffs to start on the back bar. Like we said, that's going to be your Lotus Flower and your Bull Netch. And then go ahead and start by laying down your AoEs and watch for that Gryphon's Reprisal synergy. You want to hit that once it procs. So there it is. Go ahead and hit that. You didn't hear it, but it did go off. We're going to apply our front bar dots. If your bear ultimate is ready, go ahead and do that. Hit your sub assault and then back to the back bar. So one more time. Here's my 3 dots. I'll go ahead and rebuff sub assault. Use Griffin if it's ready. Trap. And then Bloodthirst. Sub assault, switch back. Back bar dots. Rebuff. Then again, sub assault, barb trap. Use your ult when it's ready. There you got that Griffin sound at the end. So we got about 3 Griffin procs for the whole fight, which is pretty good damage. But that is the basic rotation. Pretty simple once you get the hang of it. Now, let's talk about passives. What do you need to make this work? Warden passives are incredibly strong for this build, you guys. We have focused mainly on animal companions. And the reason for that is we get so many good passives here. Bond with Nature gives us some extra healing. Savage Beast gives us ultimate back. Flourish gives us extra recovery, both magicka and stamina recovery. You can see the recoveries are very good on this build. And then Advanced Species is giving us 8% bonus damage. That's because we're using 4 of these abilities, including the ultimate on the front bar. So lots of bonus damage playing a Warden. It definitely feels strong this patch. Green Balance, since we are using up to 2 of these heals, you will want all of these as well. This is where you can get Major Mending to boost your heals. Some extra sustain from Nature's Gift. Emerald Moss will increase your healing done at maturation. This is where we get that bonus 10% max health. This is really cool on the Warden. Even using your Netch a couple times because you proc that passive heal from Animal Companions. Even that gives you the maturation passive, so that's really good. And then Winter's Embrace is the only thing we're not really using like on the front bar. This does increase your chance to apply shield though, which is good. Frozen Armor we're not really using that much. Icy Aura reduce the effectiveness of snares. That's okay, you could get that one as well. But definitely get Piercing Cold because this is going to increase the damage of both the bear, since that's magic damage, and your back bar dot Winter's Revenge, since that is frost damage. Okay, weapon passives, obviously this depends on your setup. If you're going with dual wield, make sure you pick those up. If you're going the 2-handed route, make sure you pick those up, and then all of your back bar bow passives as well. For armor, it's actually really simple on this build. I went with full medium, mostly for the cost reduction. Now, I didn't talk about the weights too much, but the cost reduction you can find here in the Windwalker passive. So we're getting 28% bonus recovery and 14% bonus cost reduction to our stamina ability. So that's why the sustain feels so good on this build, and you can do so much damage. You're not going to run out of resources really at all. Now, if you decide to use some other weights, like let's say you change your monster helm to light, you will get some good passives, but you're gonna miss out on some sustain. So play around with it. You could do like a heavy monster helm and a light shoulder if you want more stats. You could probably get away with that, but definitely 7 medium is the easiest for sustain due to those medium armor passives. Let's look at our guild skills here really quick. Fighter's Guild. Now, there's a reason why I usually run Barb Trap on the front bar, at least if I'm not using Dawnbreaker as an ultimate. That is the Banish the Wicked passive. So I generate 3 ultimate whenever I kill an enemy if I have a Fighter's Guild ability slotted. So that's going to give me 3 ultimate per kill on my front bar. You also get some bonus weapon damage from the Slayer passive, so kind of these two would be the ones you want to get first. Skill tracker will give you some bonus damage on your trap, so you can pick that one up as well. Talked about Undaunted. You can pick up Undaunted Metal for extra resources. And then obviously your racial skills and alchemy. Medicinal use, this is going to make your potions last as long as possible. So let's jump into champion points here quickly. Remember, I will have a written guide for this build, updated with all of the champion point stars that you need for 300, 600, 900, and 1200 CP. Feel free to check out the link in the description to get all those details. But our main slotted stars for the green tree, that's going to be Treasure Hunter, Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, and Steed's Blessing. Now for the blue tree, I played around with some of these, so you're going to see some extra ones here. The main ones I am focused on, though, is Deadly Aim, Master at Arms, Thaumaturge, especially Thaumaturge, for the dot bonus, and then Fighting Finesse. Now, if you're fighting in groups exclusively and you have a tank that's good at turning away enemies, you could slot Backstabber in place of one of these. I would probably drop Master at Arms for Backstabber, just to increase that critical damage a little bit more. But if not, just stick with Fighting Finesse. You'll be good to go. And then a couple of other passives you will want here, especially in Staving Death. These are more of like your damage reduction passives. This is great for playing solo. Pick up Quick Recovery, as well as Preparation for 10% damage reduction. That's really good. And then finally, our stars in the red tree are also kind of flexible. Main ones I would get, though, Boundless Vitality for the health, Fortified for the armor, and Rejuvenation for the recovery. Pretty much can't go wrong on any build with these three main stars. And then the fourth star is kind of up to you. I actually still have Bastion here, and the reason for that is I was using either Carve or Brawler, testing out the two-handed version of this build, and this will increase your damage shield for skills like Brawler, or if you want to use Bone Shield, something like that. You'll get 15% bonus to your shield size. So that's a good one. If you're not using a shield, though, you can swap over to Bloody Renewal. That's going to give you really good stamina sustain every time you kill an enemy. So those are kind of the main slotted stars I would pick up. Again, if you want to see more details, like all the passives, definitely check out the written guide because those will all be listed there for you. Last but not least, in terms of the outfit style, if you're interested in how to obtain this look for your build, let me show you what those are really quick. This is actually the Silver Rose style from the Rose Petal Bastion Dungeon. All right, everybody, and with that said, that's going to wrap up this update to the Stamina Warden Beastmaster build. Hope you enjoyed this one or you found it informative. Of course, if you did, do me a favor and crush that like button. It absolutely helps out the channel. Much appreciated. If you have any additional questions on how the build works and how it's set up, make sure you check out the written guide. Link for that will be in the description down below. Over there, we'll have things like alternate gear sets, alternate skills, all the passives you need, and of course, those CP stars for 300, 600, 900, and 1200 CP. So that should be helpful if you're trying to make this build work on your own. And let me know in the comments section what sort of builds you're planning for this latest update for ESO. I'd definitely be interested in hearing your own ideas. As usual, make sure you subscribe for many more ESO videos like this one. Check out our YouTube membership if you're interested in supporting the channel further. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next video.
That settles it. Vampires.
Vampires?